That morning, the Baltimore Sun had a headline saying 94% chance of Anthony Brown being governor.
Republican Larry Hogan vowed to tirelessly work to prove worthy of the honor of being elected the 62nd governor in the deep blue Democratic state of Maryland.
As the snow started coming, I just ad-libbed and said, they said it was going to be a cold day in hell before we had a Republican governor in Maryland.
I, Lawrence J. Hogan, Jr.
I ran for governor because I was so frustrated with the direction our state was heading. Our state economy ranked 49th out of 50 states. People were fleeing the state. The day after I was sworn in, we submitted the first balanced budget in a decade.
The rain tax in Maryland is officially repealed.
We're the only state in the nation to tax the rain, and it was symbolic of the out-of-control taxation. After 43 taxes in a row, people couldn't take it anymore.
The governor was slashing prices like a used car commercial.
To roll back tolls at every single toll facility.
The average Maryland family was paying $4,800 more per year in taxes. And I said, we're going to provide some relief and put some money back in the pockets of taxpayers without the legislature. And we reduced tolls at every single facility in the state.
Developing news out of Baltimore, violence has continued several hours since the funeral of Freddie Gray, the man who died after being in police custody.
It had only been 90 days since I had been governor. When this broke out, it was the worst violence in our largest city in 48 years.
Rioters have taken to the streets, looting and burning cars and buildings. The governor has issued a state of emergency.
That night, I immediately went to Baltimore. The next morning, as the sun came up, I was at North and Penn, ground zero. I walked the streets and talked with neighbors.
This was a mob scene last night. There are now people commuting to work. One reason for the difference is they brought in resources from all over the state.
The other part of it was, making people feel that things were going to be okay and that they were being heard and that somebody cared. So walking the streets and talking to all the people that were angry and the people that were afraid and people that were concerned about what was going on in the city. We talked to them all. I was shaving, and I felt this lump that I'd never seen before, like I all of a sudden grew an Adam's apple overnight. And then 3 doctors told me that I had cancer that had spread all over my body. I had 50 or 60 tumors from my neck to my groin. And it was very advanced and very aggressive, and that they needed me to see an oncologist immediately. I came home and told my wife. She was the first one. It happened to be Father's Day weekend. I remember my dad was crying the whole time and couldn't eat any Father's Day dinner. And the girls were, sometimes who aren't very emotional, got really emotional. I was going to have to immediately go in the hospital. I wanted to make sure that people heard it from me. And I had to do a bone marrow biopsy. And the nurse says, you're going to be under full anesthesia. We're going to give you some heavy painkillers when you get out. So don't make any major decisions. Don't drive. You're going to be kind of loopy. And I said, actually, I'm going to have a press conference this afternoon. And she said, that's a really bad idea.
He's been diagnosed with advanced non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
I'm going to face this challenge with the same energy and determination that I've relied on to overcome every obstacle that I've faced in my life. Best news is that my odds of getting through this and beating this are much, much better than the odds I had of beating Anthony Brown.
I hated laying in the bed. You're carrying around a thing that's got all these chemo bags hanging from it, and it's attached to a port in my chest. But I would do laps around the cancer ward to keep moving. And I talked with the patients, and I talked with their families. But there was one kid in particular, Jimmy, just a tremendous young man. He was battling leukemia. And the first time I'm walking by with my thing, and this kid yells out to me, and he says, "Hey, Governor." So I stop and I meet him and his family. He says, "They call me the mayor. I've been involved in Special Olympics for a long time in the polar bear plunge." And we chatted up, and it's like the mayor and the governor. And I spoke at his funeral. And we went there, and I spoke to the crowd. His family was in the front row, and I said, "We're changing this first annual Governor's Courage Award. From now on, it's going to be the Jimmy Myrick Jr. Courage Award. It's going to be given in his name." You can hear about and what it's like. But I never realized how I would get to know it from this kind of perspective.
A landmark moment for Governor Larry Hogan as he receives a blessing from Pope Francis.
He held my hand in both of his hands. He looked me in the eye with a beautiful smile. And then I said, Holy Father, would you say a prayer for all of the people afflicted with cancer?
And then he put his hand on my forehead and blessed me. He had invited kids from Catholic schools, and I'm walking out there sort of with John Kerry, and hundreds of school kids start chanting, Hogan strong, Hogan strong. It was an experience I'll never forget. I happen to believe that every child in Maryland deserves access to a world-class education, regardless of what neighborhood they happen to grow up in. We've had record funding 2 years in a row for K through 12 education, and we've also had dramatic increases in higher ed as well.
I'm very thankful to be able to report that incredibly, as of today, I am 100% cancer-free and in complete remission.
I was happy and thankful, and I was there with my whole family and my kids and my granddaughter, and it was a pretty darn good feeling. The most recent poll showed nearly 3/4 of Marylanders happy with the direction the state is heading and approving of the job that we're doing.
Larry Hogan has the approval of Maryland voters. 63% of Democrats and 88% of Republicans think he's doing a good job.
We've gone from 49th out of 50 states to number 11, up 38 spots in 20 months. It's the greatest economic improvement of any state in the United States of America. We went from last place in the Mid-Atlantic region in job creation to first place. Our unemployment is down to 4.2%, one of the best in the country. Businesses are growing, they're investing, they're hiring more people. The businesses are returning to the state.
In a push to clean up blighted communities plagued with vacant homes, Baltimore City Mayor Stephanie Rawlins-Blake and Governor Larry Hogan joining forces announcing a multi-year, multi-hundred-million-dollar plan that includes demolishing vacant homes, creating green spaces, and community reinvestments.
We're doing what we said we would do. People are now hopeful about the future of Maryland. And we're going to continue to fight to change Maryland for the better. Tim McGraw has a song called Live Like You Were Dying. And I played that song over and over again when I was sick. I'm at the University of Maryland, and they have a benefit concert. They invited me to come. Tim McGraw is the headliner. And I said to him, Tim, I just want you to know how much your song inspired me. And the very last song of the night, Tim McGraw got down on one knee on the stage, spotlight on him, and he pointed up to me, and he said, this one goes out to the governor.
I spent most of the next days looking at the x-rays, talking about the options, and talking about sweet time. I asked him when it sank in that this might really be the real end. How's it?
It just really was incredible. I mean, I was in tears. The whole audience was looking up at me, singing with Tim McGraw the song to me.
I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Blue Manchu, and I looked deeper and I spoke sweeter and I gave forgiveness I've been denying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance.
Tim signed his guitar to the Gov, Live Like You Were Dying.